This is going to be a quick look at the RAM RHO, also known as the RAM High Output / RAM RHO. This is the spiritual successor to the RAM TRX, a truck that I hold near and dear to my heart, largely due to its supercharged V8. Due to emissions and the changing landscape of vehicles, gone is the TRX, and in its place is this. It has a Hurricane Inline 6, the high output variant, and it makes 540 horsepower. And from a suspension perspective and body, it's very similar to its outgoing older brother. It starts at just over $69,000, it's just under 70, depending on a couple figures here and there. And when you fully load this thing, it's just under $90,000. When you compare this to the F150 Raptor, it undercuts the price, and honestly, it is its closest competitor.
We have a new headlamp. This is our most premium headlamp. You can see with the lit identity LED lighting around it.
From an exterior perspective, there are some changes to the RHO. It's got a front and rear fascia change. The lights are a little different in the back and in the front. The grille's a little different. There are some specific RHO badges. From an interior side of things, I don't know what the base truck looks like, but this fully loaded one is quite nice. You have heated and cooled and massaging front seats, which you cannot get a massager in the F150 Raptor. The seats are definitely on the more aggressively bolstered side, though not as aggressive as the Raptor. All of the switchgear feels quite nice. There's excellent storage in the door, and you are really stuck with this giant RAM screen. While it looks visually fairly impressive, and there are lots of different widgets you can tab through, the software itself is on the slower, laggier side, which is definitely disappointing. I've had a couple dropouts. It's not that fast to react. The camera's dropped in and out, and I don't actually think the camera quality is that good, at least compared to some of its rivals. The back seat, though, is definitely a highlight. If you're going to use this as your do-everything vehicle, you have kids or full-size friends, they'll flip back there with no issues, and at this top trim, the rear seats are heated and cooled. The bed is typical RAM 1500, very usable outlets, plenty of tie downs, though this is a lifted truck, so it might be a little harder to get things in and out of the rear. So let's head in the shop and talk tech. In the shop with the RAM RHO. It stands for RAM High Output or RHO. It does not stand for Reduced Horsepower Option. They went away from the supercharged V8 due to emissions, though apparently V8s are coming back, which will be a great thing for this brand, but who knows. In the meantime, this is now running the high output variant of the 3-liter inline 6 from Stellantis, known as the Hurricane engine. It's a twin turbo inline 6, which means it's more balanced than the Raptor V6. It runs 2 giant Garrett turbochargers that put out a peak boost level of 28 PSI. This thing makes over 500 foot-pounds of torque and 540-ish horsepower, making it more capable, or at least more powerful, than the Raptor V6. And of course, it being an inline 6 versus a V6, there are some inherent benefits of balance and engine noise. This is running equal-length exhaust headers to give it a little bit more character, and it has a valved exhaust, so it doesn't sound like some of the other Hurricane applications. And obviously, they've made the requisite improvements to the engine to deal with the induction system getting a lot of dirt and debris and dust, and changes, I assume, to the oil pan to deal with slosh angles and all that other fun stuff. At least that's what they did in the past. Stellantis isn't the best about getting us engineering information. So what else do you need to know? From a chassis perspective, it's largely carryover from the TRX. This is running the Bilstein Black Hawk E2 adaptive dampers with jounce control. They've recalibrated the suspension for the reduction in weight from this engine. It's about 140, 150 pounds lighter. It still gets a Borg-Warner transfer case. You have a Dana 60 rear axle. You get 14 inches of wheel travel in the back, 13 in the front. And you have just under like 12 inches of ground clearance. And this can now tow about like 82 or 8,300 pounds. This is a very capable truck that if you are actually going to rock crawl, or more importantly, Baja or Baja drive through the deserts, this thing will do that excellently. So let's go take this for a quick drive on some farm roads. Setting off in the RAM RHO, we're in sport mode. Let's launch this thing. Moment of silence for the dearly departed, that is the TRX. No, this inline 6 cannot replace the character and sound and comedy of that V8, but when you compare it to its nearest rival, the Raptor V6, there are some pros to this engine. First off, it sounds nowhere as trumpety as that V6 does, and I do think the gearbox calibration, this 8-speed, is better calibrated than the Ford 10-speed. I can't speak to it off-road when you're bombing down a sand dune or a sand trail, but in the real world, if you're just gonna putt this thing around, which most people are gonna be doing probably 95% of the time, this gearbox is much smoother. There's no weird lurching or clunking that we've had in every single Ford Raptor 10-speed application. This is better calibrated. I do think this inline 6 is better isolated. An i6 is naturally better balanced than a V6, and I think it's just this smoother drivetrain, something that you should be expecting in an $80,000 to $90,000 truck. This, though, does feel bigger, and I will say on road a little less refined and connected than the Raptor does, and there's a couple reasons for it. I think overall the body structure over bumps doesn't isolate you as much. I don't think it is as quiet, at least to my memory, in the cabin at highway speeds versus the V6 Raptor, and it just feels more cumbersome, if I'm going to be honest. It feels like a bigger vehicle, though the Raptor is probably equivalently sized, though I've not parked either next to one another. I do want to drive both off-road, and as I've mentioned a couple times in this video, OEM supporting. Our plan is to take this to our off-road course at Autobahn and run both of them in sort of a Baja autocross back-to-back and see what they're like. Honestly, though, I think what this truck does really, really well, something that I'm honestly pretty impressed by, is behave like a normal truck. Something that the TRX, because the V8 never really did. If you're just looking at this as sort of a luxury truck, something to putt around in, mall crawl, look to use as sort of a premium, I hate to call it lifestyle vehicle, but lifestyle vehicle, this thing does it quite well. The i6 is ultra refined, the massaging seats work well, the audio system's okay, and the interior space, though you can argue whether or not it's the most functional thing in the world, the interior space is pretty nice. All the screens are okay, there's somewhat of a wow factor there. Huge back seat, big bed, and all the towing functions and all the things that Ram does pretty well as a truck carry over to this RHO. So let's head into the final thoughts. Final thoughts on the Ram RHO. I'll be the first one to tell you that Ram has some mighty big shoes to fill with the utterly stupid but very charismatic Ram TRX. I did absolutely adore that truck. And in comparison, this thing does not have the sheer charisma of that vehicle. Though, if you compare the RHO to its direct competitor, the Raptor V6, there is a lot to like. I think the Hurricane inline 6 is far more refined and less irritating than the V6. It has a much nicer sound, and the automatic gearbox is better calibrated. The interior space, I think, is a wash between the Raptor and this thing. This has less supportive seats than what you get in the F150 Raptor, though you get the massage function. I don't think the screen is as good to use, but visually it's better looking than the F150s, at least to my eye. And I think the interior space has an overall larger wow factor. On the flip side, though, once again, you can debate which vehicle is going to hold its value, which one is better to drive in the real world. We do plan in the future to do a direct head-to-head comparison test, manufacturers permitting. So thanks for watching, and hope to see you again soon in the future.